What's up, everybody? Christian Ballard here with Ballard Sports Media, coming at you today with another college football preview video for the 2020 season. And up today, Penn State Nittany Lions. So, Penn State coming off a 10-2 regular season, pretty good losses, and they won their bowl game. They ended up going 10-2. Made the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, where they beat Memphis pretty badly, 53-39. Defense probably could have done a little bit better. Offense was on fire in that game. You look at their two losses, pretty decent losses, both on the road. So they won all of their home games. They had a 4-game stretch at the end of the season coming off the second bye week. If you recall, last year, everyone got a second bye week. It wasn't anything necessarily to do with football scheduling. It all had to do with the calendar year because of the last day of November being the Saturday after Thanksgiving for rivalry weekend. And in order to play 12 games, they had to pretty much, have it start the last day of August. So everyone got 2 bye weeks. But, and again, you look at it, like I just mentioned, their 2 losses at Minnesota and at Ohio State. Ohio State made the playoffs, went undefeated in the regular season. Of course, we remember the Fiesta Bowl against Clemson. Probably should have won that game. They came up short when Justin Fields threw that interception in that game and everything. So when you look at it on paper, and you look at how close it was between those two, especially that Minnesota game on the road at Minnesota, who was just on fire last year, made a bowl game against Auburn in the, I think the Outback Bowl. Minnesota made the Outback Bowl, won it by a touchdown over Auburn. So that was not a bad loss, and they ended up being ranked 18 in the final poll, I guess. At least the final poll of last season. So when you look at it, normally what you would see for Penn State is they have like a 4 or 5 game winning streak. They hit the Ohio State game, they lose that, and then all of a sudden they lose their way and they have like a 9-3 or a 10-2 season. But that wasn't the case this year. They lost on the road, a very close game late in the year, and then they have a win the next week after the Minnesota loss at home against Indiana, beat them by a touchdown, and then you lose by 9 points to Ohio State. 11 points, I'm sorry. Did that math wrong. But, and then, of course, as I mentioned, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl against Memphis. Not necessarily a blowout, but they scored 53 points. Regardless of how you got those points on the board, offense was legit in that game. Lit up, on fire. So, a 10-2, counted 11-2 record in total last year. So, can James Franklin and Penn State find a way to repeat the magic that they had last year? Consistent winning at the beginning of the season. Can they find a way to maybe go 11-1? We see teams quite often. I don't want to say quite often, but we have seen before an 11-1 team can make the playoffs if they have a good resume. Take Penn State, for example, and I'll get into their 2020 schedule here real quick. Let me actually move this a little bit so I don't have to reach as much. But so you look at the schedule. I'll run through it real quick. It's a little bit of a different setup because I guess traditionally for Penn State, again I mentioned Ohio State on the road late in the year last year. They get them a little bit earlier. Count it middle of the season as the third week in October, 4th week actually. There's 5 Saturdays, as I mentioned in the Tennessee and Bama preview videos when I talked about the 3rd Saturday being moved and stuff. They get Ohio State Saturday, October 24th. That's the same day as the third Saturday rivalry. But anyway, let's just start from the top and run through the schedule. Home against Kent State, at Virginia Tech, home against San Jose State, home against Northwestern, on the road at Michigan, bye week, come back, you stay at home for like 2 weeks with Iowa and Ohio State, you go on the road at Indiana, you go on the road at Nebraska, and then you finish it with 2 home games and a road game. Michigan State at home, Maryland at home, and at Rutgers. So it's not that tough of a schedule in the sense that, I mean, again, you get 3 cupcakes in a row at the start of the season. Actually 4 within September in the first month. Kent State, Virginia Tech, San Jose State, and Northwestern. I'm not sure how tough Virginia Tech is in Blacksburg, but you guys let me know. I know I got a guy, Hokie for Life, that is a Virginia Tech fan. I see him in my comments a lot. Let me know, Hokie. At Michigan and Ann Arbor. Arbor. I can't say it. So, I don't know how favorable this is. Ohio State is the one game that they normally, like as if it's the curse of the Buckeyes, you know, they hit that game, they lose that game, and then they lose another one somewhere along the way that messes up their playoff path, I think. And, of course, losing to Ohio State, if Ohio State is good like they usually are, they win the Big Ten East, the Big Ten East, and they represent the East Division in the Big Ten title game. So, I don't know. I think they can handle a team like Nebraska on the road. I think they can handle Maryland and Michigan State and Rutgers. Anybody can handle. Listen, Rutgers is like an ACC team in the Big Ten, basically, if you want to look at it like that. Or an FCS school. They're not that good. Virginia Tech, San Jose, Kent State, those 3 games at the start of the season, no problem. Northwestern, no problem. At Michigan, we will see what the Wolverines look like. Bye week, then Iowa at home. That's normally a good game to watch, and normally a close game. Iowa's a decent team that can make a bowl game, that can find a way to at least try to compete with some teams in the Big Ten. So, well, obviously, again, we'll have to see what that looks like for them. As far as the record goes, I really don't know. I guess I like an 11-1. I don't see them losing at Indiana, at Rutgers, or at Nebraska. Michigan State comes to town. They have not been that good. They'll have a new coach. I'm still not 100% sure on who their new coach is, but I think what's that guy's name? Mark D'Antonio recently quit or retired, or they fired him, whatever. He's not there anymore. So they'll have a new coaching staff and system and all that. They're rebuilding or whatever. They're still down in the dumps. But it should be a pretty favorable schedule for Penn State this year. They don't play Minnesota on the road this year. I guess the team that they have instead is from the other division, I guess, is Nebraska on the road. They won't be like the Minnesota team that we saw last year. I guarantee you that. So, with that being said, you have all those games, and of course the Big Ten Championship after the road game against Rutgers on rivalry weekend. I'm looking at an 11-1 season, maybe. Maybe a 12-0 season. Depending on what happens. Really the 2 tough games that I see them possibly losing. It could be 10-2. At Michigan, and Ohio State comes to town. We have seen them in recent history. It's been, I guess this year will be 4 years because it was 2016. They beat while they were unranked, but then again, it was like really early in the season. What was it, like week 4 or something, and they were undefeated, unranked, and they beat the number 2 team in the country. and Ohio State. So we've seen them beat Ohio State at Beaver Stadium in a whiteout. Expect that to be a whiteout game, I'm sure, which is awesome to see. So let's see. I guess I'm not saying they're gonna lose this game, but knowing how good Ohio State will be this year, I kind of give them an edge in that game. So I'll count that a loss. Michigan on the road, I don't know. We'll have to see, but we're probably looking at a 11-1 or 10-2 season with a loss with Ohio State, and probably not at Michigan. So when you look at it like that, it kind of is a favorable schedule, and they are set up pretty well to make a good run at a Big Ten championship, possibly the playoffs, and expect them to make a really good bowl game at the end of next year too, if things all go well with James Franklin and the Nittany Lions. And you look at the team, and I guess they bring back that what was his name, Sean Clifford guy at quarterback. He did pretty well for you guys last year, and if he doesn't work out, they signed a guy last year or 2 years ago, whatever, this Michael Johnson Jr. guy who looks incredible, and I'm waiting to see him play in action for the Lions. I saw some highlights of him when he signed with them, and I saw something that he signed, and he looks awesome. Go check out some of his highlights. Michael Johnson Jr. is his name, and they got a guy, Will Levis. So they're pretty good at quarterback, and they've been known for some good running backs over the years. Saquon Barkley, who's with the Giants, Miles Sanders with the Eagles. They might bring back this guy, Noah Cain, who's going to be a really good runner this year, I would assume. And so they'll be loaded and ready to go. So, the prediction, I'll stick, you know what? Let's count it 11-1 for right now. I see them making a really good run to try to make the Big Ten championship. Probably going to have one loss with Ohio State. Outside of that, they should be able to handle Rutgers, Nebraska, Indiana, probably Michigan on the road. We will see. Virginia Tech and Penn State, again, those two teams right there early in the season. So it is a favorable schedule for Penn State this year. And it normally is favorable, but this is probably going to be a little bit easier than last year. So, Penn State Nittany Lions in 2020, I'm predicting 11-1. And so, yeah, probably going to try to make a run, obviously, at the playoffs, Big Ten championship, and all that. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for this preview video. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Really would appreciate it. And comments are always appreciated as well. Penn State fans, if you're watching, let me know down below in the comments. Any other football fans out there watching this, what are your predictions for Penn State this year? Let me know what you see happening. Again, favorable schedule. The tough games that you have usually that have messed you up the past couple years, you get them at home. Michigan State, Maryland, and Iowa, and Ohio State. Those are home games, and Beaver Stadium is a tough place to go and play, especially at night when they have a whiteout, which, again, looks awesome. So anyway, that's it for me. 10-2, 11-1. We'll see what happens. Again, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Until then, Ballard Sports Media, check it out.